I'm Will. That is the BYD Dolphin, and this...
It's not called the Dolphin.
What?
It's not called the Dolphin in English, it's the Atto 2.
Then why the f am I wearing this? I look like a lunatic.
Fact checking ya.
I'll give you fact checking, buddy. This is China driven.
What are you doing?
Come here. High turn. It's got a picture of a fucking dolphin. So this little hatch is supposedly destined for export, and not only export, but export into a right-hand drive market, namely Australia, following the UN Plus or Atto 3 as it's going to be known. But even if BYD does change this name of this BYD Dolphin to the EA1 or to the Atto 2, it's still very different platform-wise than the Atto 3, the UN Plus. You see, this is riding on BYD's new platform, the E-Platform 3.0. Unfortunately, being at the bottom end of the market, it doesn't come with the 800-volt architecture that we'll see on other E-Platform 3.0 cars in the future. But what it does come with is BYD's LFP Blade Battery, which BYD has gone to, let's say, extreme lengths to prove that it is safer than lithium-ion packs that we usually find in EVs. Whether that's piercing the pack with a nail and it not exploding into flames, or driving over the pack multiple times with multiple trucks that are fully loaded, and then putting that battery back into a car and driving it away. I mean, supposedly, according to BYD, Blade Battery LFP, some of the safest batteries around. So let's talk price of this little EV hatchback. Here in China, there are basically three levels. There is a base model that comes in at around $16,000. There's two middle models, one which is $17,500, and then this one which is $18,500, and a top of the line which comes in at $20,500. Now, supposedly, it's the top of the line model that is going to go to Australia. So you'll get all the bells and whistles which are available to the BYD Dolphin. I mean Atto 2, I mean EA1, God, who knows? Now, all models of the BYD Dolphin, EA1, Atto 2, come with 95 horsepower and 108 newton-meters of torque, except for the top model that comes with a peppy 177 horsepower and 290 newton-meters of torque. In terms of acceleration, the base model does the dash to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, from a standstill in an unexciting 10.5 seconds. And this, the middle model, is actually slower because it has a larger battery. It does it in 10.9 seconds. However, that top model with 177 horsepower and 290 newton-meters of torque does it in 7.5 seconds. It's actually quite anticlimactic. I mean, it's distinctly faster than the other models, but it's about half a second slower than the Aura Good Cat GT here in China. And that's another car which is destined for export to a right-hand drive market, namely the UK. But that car is about more than $3,500 more expensive. By the way, if you haven't seen our Aura Good Cat video, be sure to go check that out. We also did a test drive of it. Now, we've got the middle of the road model here, and although that 0 to 100 is, you know, basically 11 seconds, 0 to 50 kind of speed you'd see in an urban environment, it is quite peppy. But once you hit that 50 kilometers an hour, the next 50, from 50 to 100, there is a distinct slowdown in the speed that is acquired over time. It sounds like some kind of math equation. Basically, the first 50 kilometers is pretty fast. I wouldn't say it's lightning fast, but it's pretty fast. After 50, it just doesn't go, basically. Now, one of the big selling points to buying a BYD is BYD's battery tech. You see, they're all about LFPs with their infamous BYD Blade Battery system. Now, it's got a density of 140 watt-hours per kilo, and it absolutely smashes the competition in terms of density. For example, Cattel that supply the Tesla Model 3 standard range plus for the made in China ones, the ones in Shanghai, only has a density of 125 watt hours per kilo. So BYD is probably leading the world when it comes to LFP batteries. Smashes might be an exaggeration, but I mean, you know, props where props are due. Okay, we're going to talk about batteries, and we should probably talk about ranges. Now, there are 2 batteries and 3 claim ranges. The base model has a 30.7 kilowatt hour pack and a claim range of 301 kilometers. The middle and top models have a 44.9 kilowatt hour pack. The middle has a claimed 405 kilometers of range, and the top, the one that's going to Australia supposedly, has a claimed 401 kilometers of range on the NEDC. So, you know, you're not going to see those numbers in the real world. It also comes with a heat pump, and I'm pretty sure it's the only car at its price point with a heat pump. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, drop in the comments below. Supposedly, it will charge for 30-80% in 30 minutes. Standard, mate, innit? They all do. Ventilated discs up front, solid discs in the rear. I don't know what they are caliper-wise, but it's McPherson struts in the front and a torsion beam in the rear. That torsion beam is going to give you, you know, half decent ride, as well as, importantly for a car this size, more interior space. Now, tyres and wheels on all models except the top model, they're these chunky 195/60 tyres all the way around on the 16-inch kind of diamond cut aero alloys. Now, the top model has a larger 17-inch rim and a fatter 205/50 tyre all the way around. The brand of tyre here in China, Chaoyang. I mean, it's just an economy brand of Chinese tyre. It'll be interesting to see what they ship with when they go abroad. Trunk space. Now, this is a subcompact hatchback, but it's got a respectable 345 litres with the rear seats up, and that swells over 3 times more with the rear seats down to 1,310 litres. Now, this bench is a single bench, it's not a split bench, and it doesn't lie completely flat. But to give you some idea how much room this has, a Ford Focus Active, which is a compact, the segment above, has 4 litres less trunk space with the seats up and only 44 litres more with the seats down. Now, remember, the BYD EA1 or Atto 2 is 300 millimeters shorter overall, but this and a Ford Focus Active both have the same wheelbase at 2,700 millimeters, just showing you what EV packaging does for interior space. Before I go over the exterior, you might notice that it's a bit dirty here at the front. The scratch I didn't do, the dirt I did. But I did wash this before I came out to shoot it, and you would know that if you followed our Twitter, because I put up a picture of me at the car wash. So if you're not following us on Twitter, be sure to check us out at China Driven. Now, you get automatic LED headlights on all models, including the base, and you get daylight running lights on all models except the base. Now, I really like this front end. In fact, I like the whole car overall. I think it looks kind of really squat and stocky, you know, like me. Not fat, but like a square, you know, a well-reasonable shape. I do like kind of the axis of how the daylight running lights go in this kind of bar across the middle. And I do really like how this bonnet, this very short bonnet here, just cuts across the top of those lights, giving them a kind of like frowny kind of face. It does look quite good. Now you've got an embossed BYD logo, the new company logo, and behind that on what is kind of the grille, but not a grille because it's an EV, you kind of got the kind of hatch markings here, which you'll see later on the 3/4 panel. Now, it's actually asymmetrical. It's not the same, which is kind of cool. Now, you've got these green accents down here at the bottom. If you don't like green, you can have them in orange. Or if you want an understated color, then you can kind of go with, instead of a white color, a kind of rose pink and silver accents. That's about as understated as it gets. I was wrong about the colours of the BYD Dolphin. You can also get it in grey and black. Now, one thing I don't like up here is the way the camera's done. It would have been nicer if they kind of hid that away a little bit better. It just kind of looks like a wart right in the middle of the face. But overall, I think the front squarish end looks really kind of cool. Yeah, big fan. Well, this is a funky little thing. You've got those accent colours here on the wing mirror and down here. Now, one word about the wing mirror. This is where you'll find the NFC reader if you want to unlock the car. Now, there's a couple of creases down the side here. You've got this one here, which runs the whole length of the car, undercutting these door handles. Another one here, as well as that colour crease there at the bottom. Now, the door handles, they're not pop-out handles, but they are body coloured and they are nicely shaped. So I think they look pretty good. Now, the bonnet is a kind of gloss silver, and that runs into the A-pillar and goes all the way above and into the rear spoiler. Here, behind the C-pillar, you've got this kind of cross-hatching, the same as you do on the kind of grille there as well. No chrome, which is lovely. There's no chrome belt line or anything like that, which I personally prefer. And then, I guess, we've got this kind of, you know, rough and tough city car park plastic here. Okay, so you've got that kind of grey spoiler back here, which runs into the bonnet. You've got an integrated brake light, and again, you've got that green accent colour. Now, obviously, the thing that kind of dominates the back of here is those automatic LED tail lights that you get on all models, and they're this kind of, you know, crisscrossed woven pattern. I think they look pretty damn epic. You've also got Build Your Dreams, which is what BYD stands for, in 3D lettering behind some kind of plastic there in the tail light housing. But I just love these lights. They're absolutely fantastic. They're absolutely fantastic. Welcome to the interior of the EA1 or Atto 2 or Dolphin, you take your pick. It definitely describes interior as funky styling. It carries on that kind of green accent color into the interior. Green piping on the seats, green around the air ducts, as well as some stitching on the driver's armrest. It definitely appeals to my 4-year-old. It's not personally my cup of tea. Then again, I would say that I'm probably not the target audience for this. But the funky styling does do some stuff to kind of spice up the interior. Now, this is a $16,000 EV, so don't expect, you know, really high quality materials in here. You know, it's a lot of hard plastics. Dashboard, this little thing, this silver part that wraps around the air outlets, hard plastic. Up here on the door, hard plastic. Center console, top of the center console, hard plastic. Driver's armrest as well as the center armrest. This is kind of an imitation leather and it is soft. The seats are imitation leather, as is the steering wheel. This kind of shelf that kind of wraps around here. Now, this is also soft touch. It's kind of like a scale, kind of like a snake skin kind of thing. And it's got a rubberized kind of shelf here. And it also houses the control buttons there as well. This tiny little one over here is park is on the side, and these are your gears, reverse, neutral, and drive. Tucked underneath the armrest is the phone charger pad. The base model doesn't get it, but all the other models do. Now, all of these buttons, including these ones here, these are kind of like, you rock them backwards and forwards. They're not click buttons, they're kind of rock, but they are. So the steering wheel, it's imitation leather, slightly flat bottomed. It is multifunctional. It's got these hard plastic silver buttons, very reminiscent of 2008, 2010 interiors. It's got a little scroll wheel on one side and a kind of little joystick on the other for cruise control. Behind that is where you'll find the instrument panel, and it is an absolutely tiny little thing on the steering column. It's 5 inches. Now, it is bright and it is colourful. The only downside, not downside, the only thing about it is when I jumped into the car, being a little bit unfamiliar with it, it does seem to cram a lot of information into a very small space. You do get used to it kind of where to look for different things, but it is a lot going on here in what, 5 inches, like, you know, like it's a lot, especially when you're traveling at speed. Now, all models get a 12.8 inch central touch screen, except for the base model, which does with a 10.1 inch. It's reasonably clear. I would say that it's very kind of like a, I don't know, like an iPad. It's just mostly pages of apps. But it does have BYD's Party Trick, which is, with a press of a button, you can go from landscape to portrait and back again. So, you know, if you can't decide whether you prefer your EVs to have a portrait or a landscape tablet in the center of it, BYD's got you covered. Now, there is a 360-degree panoramic camera in here, which you can actually activate, it seems, at any speed, which is unusual. Normally, they'll cut off and turn off once you kind of get up to speed. There's parking sensors on the rear of all the models, but there's no front sensors, not even on the top model. There's one zone automatic AC in here with an obligatory PM 2.5 filter. There are automatic windows all the way around. They're all one touch down, but only the driver's side is one touch down, one touch up, which is a little strange. There's a sound system in here. It's a 6-speaker, unless you get the base model, in which case it's 4 speakers. I mean, it's not a good system. I'm not gonna lie, like the bongs in here kind of make you feel like you're on something, because they are quite unusual sounds. This is what the indicator sounds like. This is what the hazard light sounds like. And if you drive along without your seatbelt on, you kind of get this water drop noise as well. Madness. So these kind of one-piece driver's seat, they do look really good. They got decent bolstering. They're comfortable enough. The driver's seat is 6-way electronically adjustable. The passenger seat is 4-way manually adjustable. There's no memory function. I would say they look cool, but being a dad in my 30s, just me saying they are cool would probably make them uncool. Welcome to the back of the BYD Atto 2. Now, I'm sat behind myself here. I've got loads of knee room, loads of space to spread out. It's full headroom. Got about a fist. So if you are taller than me, which I highly doubt because I am 170 centimeters, but if you are, you might actually find headroom lacking. Now, there is a panoramic roof with a sunshade in this model and the top model. The base model and the lower middle model don't get one, but we do have one in here, and it does help make the back more airy as the whole cabin. You've kind of got this like snake kind of skin material here. You've got the same imitation leather in the back as the front seats with the green accenting as well. In the middle, you've got a single cup holder and a single USB outlet. Like, I don't get it. Would it break the bank to add a second USB outlet? I don't know why so many don't do it. Maybe I'm missing something. To be honest with you, it's very similar to the Aura Good Cat, in which, although this is a subcompact hatchback, being an EV and being Chinese, there's a lot of emphasis on rear space, really, and rear legroom. And with the EV drivetrain packaging, you can really squeeze a lot of space out of the interior. And on cars this kind of size, this subcompact segment, it really makes a big difference, you know, to that interior space. Overall, though, you know what? It's not that bad. It's actually quite comfortable back here. Basic, but comfortable. I mean, and you can spread out and you do some work. There's loads of room out back here for some activities. But honestly, it's quite comfortable back here. Okay, so we're here driving the BYD Dolphin, the Atto 2, and I'll just quickly tell you a few things about driving it, what it's like to drive. Now, it's got those really big tyres first off, so it does eat up imperfections on the road pretty well. The suspension is also really soft. In fact, you know, I can just bounce it up and down leaning on the boot. So all of that means it's actually quite comfortable in the city. However, it is a bit roly-poly here and there as a result of, you know, such soft suspension and those big tires. Okay, so this is obviously not made to be any kind of like performance car. You can tell by the acceleration times and those big sidewall tires. That helps to, you know, soak up road imperfections, but it doesn't do much for initial turn infill. And also, you know, the suspension is very, very soft. What it does do is it makes it actually quite comfortable at normal road speeds, slogging through the city in rush hour. So in here there are two modes. There's a sport mode and there's an eco mode. There's also a snow mode, but you know, that's a separate button. But you can toggle between eco and sport mode. Sport mode just makes the accelerator pedal a little more eager. The brake regen is also a little less intrusive than in eco, but in neither mode is it one pedal driving, very far from it. Here we go. Now we're at a light. You got a little bit of run. Another nice feature that it does have, which is great to see on a cheap car, is it does have auto hold, which is fantastic because I love auto hold. Off we go, off the line, blasting away. There's 40. Now, I can't really do a brake test because the roads are quite busy. It brakes. It's not going to win any awards. The brakes are fine. The switch from regen to physical braking is okay. It's not the best. The pedal is a little bit, nothing really happens while it's going through brake regen, and then it is a bit catchy when you get to physical braking, but not that bad. There's a lot of other worse offenders out there. Looking at you, EC6. And let's be honest, I mean, subcompacts are not exactly a class full of hot rods. I mean, most of them are pretty dreary when it comes to, you know, performance. Now, the steering wheel. Now, it is imitation leather, and I don't think that you would be fooled into thinking it was real leather. But it doesn't feel bad in the hands at all. The one thing I don't like, or I rather would have changed or tweaked a little bit, is the steering. Under 30 kilometers an hour, it's extremely light. Once you go over 30 kilometers an hour, it gets a bit heavier. Now, obviously, it goes very light under 30 kilometers an hour for low speed maneuvering, car parking and stuff like that. And it makes that a super doddle. Like, that is great in a car park. However, I think 30 kilometers an hour is just a little bit too high. It should start getting heavier at 20 kilometers an hour. Because sometimes when you're slowing down for a slow kind of right-hand turn, like a 90-degree angle turn, and then all of a sudden you kind of get to 28 kilometers an hour, and all of a sudden the steering just goes light. You have to kind of readjust your steering angle a little bit. Now, as for like smart features, there isn't really much going on in here. There is no level 2 ADAS. There is cruise control in this model, and the top model gets adaptive cruise control. There is lane departure warning, but there is nothing like lane keep assist or NOA or anything like that. It's very, very simple in here, and that obviously helps keep the price down. So, you know, this is brilliant for like punting around the city. Makes a lot of sense as a small urban EV. But I mean, this is 100,000 to 130,000 RMB. My question is, if you just want a little run around the city, wouldn't you just buy a mini EV for like 30,000 RMB? You know what though, it has been quite refreshing. I've got the Li Auto 1 on loan at the moment. I just drove the Neo ET7 this morning, and jumping into this, yeah, it's not that fast, but you know, at normal road speeds, it can be quite fun, you know, because it's not that extreme, you know, and you can kind of go to its limit somewhat
on the road and, you know, have a little bit of fun, carefully, responsibly, on a closed circuit in Mexico. You know what, here in China, you know, EVs are making speed cheap, and this is cheaper. So, but as a package, it's really not that bad, because you think about it, $16,000 is what this starts as. And for that, you know, you get something that's pokey in an urban environment. It's got massive amounts of space for a subcompact in the back. Boot is an all right size, and, you know, the price is great. The BYD Dolphin Atto 2 EA1.